So, guys, after years, months of me saying that I was gonna bring a goalkeeper coach to the show, to the interviews, I finally did. So we have TV over here, Tony Vu, if I'm pronouncing it
Yeah,
properly.
perfect, perfect.
I will allow him to introduce himself. So I'm really excited about this. Again, this is like the first version of how we're doing this.
I feel honored. I
It's
feel,
an honor.
yeah, it's an
Okay.
honor. Yeah,
Again, thank you
thank
very
you.
much for being here. So, a little bit about the background because you probably are playing the wall and everything. So, we currently just came from the goalkeeper conference. We have a flight late today. So, we decided, wow, this is a perfect scenario to do this stuff. And I know a couple of weeks ago I did a episode of like you just need to go ahead and do the things. It doesn't matter. Life is not gonna align perfectly, even though in this case we align perfectly. But life won't align perfectly. Probably not the best environment, but I think this is the less important right now. I think the most important right now is getting to know
We have,
TV here.
we have to adjust, right?
Yeah, adjust
Just like goalkeeping.
definitely. So most important thing is what TV is gonna tell us here. Is gonna share with us. So I'm excited about it. So let's just start with him. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Tony Vu from Florida. I have been coaching college soccer for the last 4 years.
Hmm.
The last 3 years have been at a D2 school called Coker University in Hartsville, South Carolina. Men's and women's.
Hmm.
I was a grad assistant there
Hmm.
for 2 years, my first 2 years, and then was a volunteer coach this past fall. So, men's team went to the D2 Sweet 16, finished number 9 in the country. We had received the Southeast Coaching Staff of the Year
Okay.
award. So, big accomplishments. And then now we moved to a Division One program
Fantastic.
called University of South Carolina Upstate in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and been there since January, and just excited to get going for the next season.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to go later and hear your thoughts regarding like Division Two,
Mm.
Division One, and I, because I came here and I played college as well. So I think it'll be really good if we can also educate the people about
Yeah.
how does that look like. But first of all, so you mentioned all your coaching career, and let's talk about young Tony. How did everything started? Like, how was the process from you to start coaching? Did you
Yeah,
play all your experience
sure.
regarding little Tony?
So I never played in college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 39 years old, so in my generation, you had to be over 6'1", 6'2" to even have a look
Mm-hmm.
in the United States. So just went to regular university at University of Florida, and then started coaching at the youth level when I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
Was the director of goalkeeping for a club for 10 years, and then did Florida ODP goalkeeping there for 7, 8 years, and then won state cups in Florida for club, and did UPSL
Mm-hmm.
coaching and USL 2
Mm-hmm.
last summer.
That's
So
cool.
felt the next progression was college.
Yeah.
So grad assistant position was open at Coker, and my head coach Michael Antonovich gave me a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Was the only coach in America to give me a chance. So
Yeah.
really grateful, and I think it was the right fit, the
Yeah.
perfect fit for me.
That's amazing. I really also like the fact like Tony has gone through academies like from young kids, ODP, different positions, like getting experience from different angles. Mentioned that he coached women, he coached girls. I mean, sorry, guys, and he coached girls as well. So a lot that he will be able to share. So goalkeeper experience, goalkeeper. There is not a lot of education in goalkeeping. That's just a fact. I think in some sense, us as coaches, we have learned a lot about reflecting on our own journey, like, oh, what things have been good, what can I learn from other
Yeah.
people, like trial and error as well. So I don't know, can you walk us a little bit through like what are your thoughts about goalkeeping, your methodology, like
Sure.
how do you face practice sessions, like
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on like what is a good environment
Yeah.
for a goalkeeper?
So I think starting coaching in youth soccer was perfect because it allowed me to understand the different ages growing up and understanding how to develop goalkeepers at a young
Mhm.
age and producing them to Division 1 programs
Yeah.
when they're seniors in high school. And my last academy goalkeeper, he's at Boston University now from
Yeah.
the men's side,
Yeah.
Division 1 program, and I think he's a number two and or number three, and uh, just I love developing keepers, so I want to bring that to college.
Mhm.
Uh, as you know, college environment, you have to win,
Yeah.
and that our jobs depend on that. But I think developing goalkeepers
Yeah.
and helping them kind of be more proficient in all areas and helping them improve to become the best version of themselves.
Mhm.
I think that's rewarding,
Yeah.
and I think that's the approach that you know is necessary to go,
Yeah.
especially at the Division 2 level. Uh, they're not as athletic as Division 1 players, so um, they need more time to develop,
Yeah.
right? So Division 2 allowed me to do that, which was great, and had 2 years to help develop keepers, and
Yeah.
um, there was no rush to win immediately, especially on the women's side because we were rebuilding, and um, yeah, that just allowed me more time to help them. And Division 1 don't get as much time, so yeah, you
Yeah. 100%.
have to do it right away in a couple weeks to prepare for preseason, and you're really depending on the goalkeepers coming in
Yeah.
from the summer to be ready.
Yeah. And of course, like with Tony, there is a lot of things that we can just talk about. And definitely, of course, we don't want to do a 5 hours podcast or 5 hours video here. So let's try to break it down a little bit. So starting with the beginning, okay, with the
Methodology, yeah.
youth, yeah, like what are your thoughts on like building up those academies? So
Yeah.
basically, let's talk first of all with all the youngers, right? How will you approach and how do you think the goalkeeper should be developing on
Yeah.
these ages?
Yeah. So my methodology is building a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So really focusing on fundamentals.
Okay.
So wanting to develop keepers to be technically proficient, technically sound,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can first learn to catch the ball. Right.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. And then as they master the I guess the basics, you can work on more diving, more explosiveness,
Mm-hmm.
1v1 situations, but just having them just fall in love with the position at a
Yeah.
young age. I think that helps them to be more engaged and want to learn more about goalkeeping. So, building a foundation is I think really important to develop keepers, and it's not about wins and losses
Yeah.
at that age, right? So it's more about developing and having them understand different situations and what it
Mm-hmm.
takes to eventually progress
Yeah.
to play at a higher level.
Whenever you mention like the foundation, so there's a lot of things about like different techniques or stuff like that. How does that look like for you? Like for example, how does a perfect week of training with youth will look like, and
Yeah,
how does each day
yeah,
will look like? How like will you implement that?
sure. So I'd say Monday, working on a lot of handling,
Mm-hmm.
especially after weekend.
Yeah.
On their phones and on social media, want to get them refocused for the next week. So handling, footwork, agility work,
Mm-hmm.
getting their your body mechanics, getting everything kind of ready to be more advanced towards the end
Mm-hmm.
of the week. So Tuesday, just building off maybe angle play, since we already focused on handling on Monday, kind of progressing maybe half using more half the goal,
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit more movement
Yeah.
across the goal and incorporate all of the movements on Monday and um, start introducing crossing
Okay.
Wednesday maybe, and then 1v1s Thursday, and if there's an area that they need to improve on or maybe not understand the concept,
Mm-hmm.
reintroduce that concept the day before, and once they learn it, then you can move on.
Okay.
Uh,
So this is like on the perfect scenario of you having like 5 days working
yeah,
the goalkeeper.
exactly.
But unfortunately, in America, doesn't really happen
Yeah,
that.
right. And then you
So
you have maybe 10 minutes, right, one day,
100%.
or you have 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just really depends, and um, yeah.
So whenever you were coaching the kids, like in the academies, how many days do you have with them?
Um, I say I would have at least 3 days with them.
Oh, 3 days a
Yeah,
week. That's
yeah,
really good,
three
though.
days. But
Yeah.
I was coaching club also
Uh-huh.
with multiple teams, so
Okay.
maybe one day, at least 2 days,
Yeah.
if I had other teams. But if I was just in the beginning of my of youth coaching career,
Hmm.
it was at least 3 days,
Yeah.
and I could focus on each team or certain skill levels. I kind of got away from just coaching the age
Hmm.
and coaching. Okay, if a 9-year old was really good, he could train with the 11-year olds that were kind of his skill level.
Yeah.
So kind of tailored it more that way rather than 8-year-olds have to train with 8-year-olds. So I think that helped to motivate
100%.
goalkeepers to maybe push more.
Yeah.
Say, I want to be in that group that's a little bit higher than me. So kind of reward them, right? Reward them to train with the older kids,
Hmm.
because in college or high school even, right, um, freshmen that are good enough are playing varsity
Yeah.
and training with juniors and seniors. So it's kind of the same model in college.
Then you mentioned something that I found really interesting. I think it's really real. uh, Making the kids to really fall in love with the sport,
Yeah,
because I think sometimes we really put so much pressure, especially with goalkeeping, we put so much pressure on them
yeah,
where they're not really enjoying it as much.
yeah.
Sometimes we overcoach those little kids when we should just let them experience
I
and have
agree.
fun. And I think like we can, or at least with my case, I can argue that when I was a young, like I didn't have a goalkeeper coach,
Okay.
and everything that I learned was from me just like being with my friends, being like, "Oh, shoot, shoot!
Yeah,
I will make the save, whatever." So I think in youth, creating a scenario like that
yeah,
is really helpful as well.
exactly. That's how I started, was playing with older friends,
Hmm.
and they put me in goal,
Yeah,
and I just had fun just blocking their shots and making them
yeah,
mad, right?
100%. Yeah,
So and laughing, yeah, yeah. So
100%.
um, I think creating a fun environment for them,
Yeah,
will want them to come back the next day, and even in college, right? You a lot of demands with school, just life in general, and,
yeah,
and the pressure of goalkeeping.
yeah,
So we always try to incorporate something fun in the beginning, so that takes the stress off, so they can kind of just relax and,
yeah,
and just enjoy it. So um, we're all kids, right, inside, and
100%.
and we just need to laugh, and the more we laugh, the
The
more
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 we,
happy.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
definitely. Okay, so you mentioned Division One. So now let's talk. I know
mm,
you are early in the position, so like that you're still like having gone through a season
mm,
of how those like Division One seems like. But you mentioned something really important about like okay, Division One gets a little bit more serious, where my job is in the line of like
yeah,
the goalkeeper, the team
mm,
performing as well. How does that environment look like for you?
yeah,
Like amount of practice during the week, whatever. And again, this is America where the goalkeeper coach will have way more
yeah,
roles than just coaching. So
yeah,
how does that environment looks for you?
yeah. So um, for us, we have standards
Hmm.
in our culture. We try to go away from the expectations. So
Yeah.
want to set a high standard of, we want to, our vision is to compete for Big South regular season championships, conference
Yeah.
championships, and make it to the national tournament consistently. At Upstate, we haven't had a good history on the men's side in terms of Division One, making it and winning championships and
Hmm.
going to the tournament. So coming in this spring, we've tried to rebuild, and um, just trying to just set a high standard of, okay, we want high caliber goalkeepers, and you're going to have to work hard
Yeah.
and push each other to create that environment that's very competitive. And
Hmm.
the way that I focus on keepers is I want everybody to train like they're number one, or to be number one,
Yeah.
so that it's helping everybody instead of just the number one, right? So I don't only focus on the number one. I want everybody in the goalkeeper department to be included, and to have a voice. So I try to collaborate with the goalkeepers as
Hmm.
much as possible, so that they have a voice, and they're heard.
Yeah.
right? So, and then in terms of the experience with Division One at Coker, we played High Point University in the spring and tied them,
Mhm.
and then we also played Clemson.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Wow, this is a good
so
game, though.
for yeah, so we lost 3-0, but for a Division Two program to play Clemson,
Yeah.
the they the last they've won two in the last 4 or 5 years, and
Yeah.
no one gets that chance in
Yeah.
preseason. So really lucky to see how Clemson operates in terms of their day-to-day business
I
and
remember.
pregame and how serious they take it and the speed of play.
Yeah.
So that has helped us to adjust or start to come into Division One. So yeah, just doing a lot of video analysis right now of the other teams in the conference and just trying to make sure we're ready
Yeah.
to win in the fall. So
Yeah. Recruiting, like you mentioned, bringing the right people plays such an important role in college. And before we continue, I just want to explain a little bit about the college system. And I mean, you can probably just talk, or
you go ahead. Yeah.
okay, I can go ahead. So the college system, and I came here. I play college. I got a scholarship and all of that. So there's different categories, right? So you have the NCAA, you have the NAIA, and then you have the N NJC.
NJCAA, yeah.
Well, yeah, the National Junior College Association, basically. That those are the junior college. So the NCAA is the one that is more recognized all around United States, and it gets divided into three different divisions. So you get Division One, Division Two, and Division Three. Division One is the most recognized
Yeah,
universities, like the top programs where the money is. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of athletes, really good talent. Division Two, you still find good talents and stuff
yeah.
like that, but
It's more
it's more of a
more
private scenario.
yeah, more private and I'd say a lot more international based nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. And then you get Division Three, that is way more private, and the scholarships doesn't really exist on the athletic
Mm,
environment.
yeah,
After that, you go to NAI, that's a different organization, a different corporation, but you still find really good talent over there. So more
yeah.
internationals,
More
we get a
internationals,
lot of scholarships.
ex
Yeah,
professionals.
ex-professional, and then there is a little bit less of rules that, for example, with Division One. So it's something I play NAIA, and again I pay for my whole career, so that's really good to have mindful about. And then junior college is basically the 2 years colleges that they compete between each other. So in America you can go for junior college for 2 years, and then you can transfer for a 4 year institution. Something that I want to ask you about later is regarding goalkeepers going to junior
Yeah,
college first, but we can go through that first. So okay, now that you have a better understanding about that, okay, let's say so you're Division One right now. You did your recruiting. You found your right goalkeeper. How do you bring that goalkeeper to succeed in your environment? So walk us a little bit of like what are your thoughts on like okay, I'm gonna develop this goalkeeper.
mhm,
How does a day of training session will look like?
yeah. So um, brought in a goalkeeper that played NAIA,
Mm-hmm,
really excelled in that level, and um, he was in a Division One program this past fall.
mm-hmm,
So didn't really get to play. So he still has to prove himself coming in. So trying to understand him as a person right now.
mm-hmm.
So we're having video chats to learn about each other, trying to build that relationship. And I know his goalkeeper coach back home, so just trying to understand, just him as a goalkeeper and his strengths and weaknesses and all that stuff. And um, we have a transfer that played in the spring for us. So
Yeah,
I've had a couple months with him to learn and understand, and he'll compete for the number one spot also. So um, want to really boost those two guys to compete against each other, and we'll give them opportunities in the fall and preseason, and at the end of it, they'll battle it out for the number one spot. We have three freshmen coming in,
yeah,
so want to really develop those guys to be ready next year or in 2 years, but uh, try to give everybody a chance right away. So for us, we don't care about seniority. We don't care if you're a
Yeah,
senior. We want the best 11 to play.
the best
So,
talent.
in terms of that, if the freshmen come in and kill it, they may be number two or maybe even number one.
Mhm.
But with our transfer and our grad student, that's where we're thinking or projecting them to
Yeah.
maybe start. So, developing them, um, I like to do a lot of game like scenarios. So, try to recreate different scenarios from last season
Mhm.
or maybe in their USL2 season, recreate those because they're the most recent from the games that they played. So, really just trying to build their confidence
Yeah.
and just have them kind of just come in and be ready to face Clemson and Coastal Carolina in preseason. And so working on technique, but really just trying to have them understand our philosophy
Yeah.
of what we want to do. We really possession based team, and also, want the goalkeepers to be ready to maybe step up if they're called upon.
Yeah.
So mentality is going to be really important in preseason. So the goalkeepers that are more mentally prepared, I think they'll have a better chance of starting.
Yeah. What would you say are the skills for a goalkeeper to be good?
Um, so I would say character,
Hmm.
right? Leadership, being a great person on and off the field, caring about your teammates,
Yeah.
the ones that are selfless. I think they help, especially the back line, to grow a relationship and trust in terms of distribution, playing out of the back. Um, so I think having that understanding early will help our team. So foot skills is really important with the distribution. Being able to play around or over the first line of confrontation,
Hmm.
um, finding your outside backs, finding your wingers. That's really important for our team. And then also um, commanding your box. So
Yeah.
having a big presence is also important. And then just being trustworthy. I think that's the biggest thing for a head coach is will he be able to trust you?
Yeah.
So not spilling rebounds and making sure the ball gets out of pressure, and using your defense to help block
Yeah.
the ball. So communication is also very very important to be able to manage the game.
Yeah. So you mentioned foot skills. What do you mean with foot skills, basically?
Yeah. So foot skills is anything that your feet have to deal with the ball.
Hmm.
So you're working on your first touch,
Okay.
trying to master your first touch, uh, your ball control, um, being able to set yourself up with that first touch where you can just pass the ball quickly to your next teammate.
Yeah.
So dribbling with the ball also is very important. So that's something that I like to teach at a young age
Mm.
is dribbling with the ball. And you don't want a goalkeeper that's 9 years old only focusing on goalkeeping.
Yeah.
You want them to play maybe half on the field, half in goal. And the older that you get and you're starting early or starting late on foot skills and dribbling with the ball, you really don't have a chance to play at a high level,
Yeah.
if
That's
Division
totally
One
good.
or Division Two.
Especially with the modern goalkeeping now.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
definitely has
It's,
involved a lot of you being
yeah,
able to perform stuff like
exactly.
that.
So, like you said, in the modern game, it's more about using your feet than catching the ball. So, in the game, you're what 20 less than 20% that you're handling the ball or catching the ball. Most of the game is switching the point of attack, swinging the ball or breaking lines through the midfield, or clipping the ball over.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of our most important skills
Yeah.
in terms of
I
goalkeeping.
like I like that you mentioned about the handling part because like lately I have been in this controversy of like we focus so much on shots in the bubble and
Yeah.
then on the goalkeeper doing this every single time when in reality in the game like the goalkeeper just tend to do the scoops or
Mhm.
like diving or stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on regarding like for example the bullies scenarios, counts scenarios? Like do you think all the things has room on goalkeeper practice, or you think
Yeah.
like those stuff is something that coaches need to be more aware about forgetting and leaving
Yeah.
it around?
I there is a place for it.
Hmm.
at the beginning of pre-activation or warm-ups. Um, I think as goalkeepers, that's what we're used to, right? Is cones and I need 10 reps or I need 5 reps so that mentally I'm ready. So in the conference, right,
Hmm.
they talked about announced drills
Yeah.
and unannounced drills, and that kind of got my mind jogging of okay, maybe do the goalkeepers just need to come out early and do the volleys to themselves,
Yeah.
and then for us as coaches, that gives us time to more focus on servicing balls from the ground with a prep touch,
Yeah.
and not kicking the ball from dead ball situations because the game is live, so you want to mimic real touches, live touches.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest important as we go to servicing on the ground. The ball has to move.
Yeah.
The ball has you have to take a prep touch or a first touch.
100%. I think I like that you mentioned like the conference because I think we're coming back from the conference. Like we have a lot of things in our
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
right
All
now,
right, yeah. My,
so
my,
it's
my
kind
brain's
of like
fried.
yeah, we're brain like kind of working through stuff like that. So okay, you mentioned like okay the pre-activation and stuff like that. How do you normally base a session? So for
Yeah,
example, in my case, like you mentioned, okay, I have a warm up, I have an activity one, activity two,
yeah,
activity three, and then that's in the perfect scenario. That's my
yeah,
training session.
yeah. It's like a private session, right?
Hmm.
Really, like if you're working one on one with the keeper, you're having him do footwork or agility through the cones, right?
Hmm.
So, high knees and then volley, or do side to side volley,
Yeah.
3 times or whatever. So, um, I think if we spend less time on that, that allows us more time to get into the more game like scenarios,
Okay.
like the unannounced and the live
Yeah.
situations, and allows us to maybe teach a little bit more, or hit on those coaching points. I think sometimes we focus a lot on the technical uh, mastery of it, like with the cones and the volleys, and we have less time at the end of the session
Yeah.
because sometimes our head coach is okay. We need to do small sided, or we need to go to the next tactical phase,
Yeah.
and we're not able to do the last part of what we really want to do in the
Yeah.
session, right? So I think if we get away with the pre-activation,
Yeah.
where the goalkeepers can do it on their own, I think that would help. And at the Division 1 and 2 levels, they should be able to strike a ball
That's 100%.
consistently.
Yeah.
They should be able to, hit the ball straight. Um, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. How many activity like progressions do you normally go in a practice session?
Yeah, so I would say um, activation. So say if we're doing like 1v1s, for example, incorporate small spaces where the ball's starting where the goalkeeper is on the side. The service the server plays it to me,
Yeah.
and then they'll come up and I'll hit it one touch into them lightly.
Yeah.
So maybe starting with that if we're doing 1v1s, and then progressing maybe a little bit out more,
Yeah.
kind of more unannounced, um, incorporating maybe angle shots, and then also second phase of that going into a 1v1. So I'd say at least 3 activities. So two kind of uh, easy, medium, and then the last one be like kind of live, where you're
Yeah.
kind of
More.
spending more time, right? Kind of maybe at least 20
Yeah.
minutes, no more than 25-30 minutes, because if they get it right, there's no need to really,
Yeah.
really get them more tired and deal with that. So, yeah, I would say 3 activities.
Yeah.
It
Like
depends. It really
no,
depends,
I
man.
like it there. Like we have so many things that you're saying. I'm like, I want to ask you about that. I want to
Yeah,
ask you about that. But let's touch about because you mentioned private sessions. What are your thoughts on private sessions? Because
yeah,
I know a lot of people have the controversy like the game is a group thing,
yeah,
but of course, like goalkeeping is individual thing.
yeah,
But then it's like, okay, you cannot create as much scenarios
exactly,
on a private session. So,
exactly.
like, what are your thoughts regarding it?
Yeah, I think they're good to build the goalkeeper's confidence, especially if they're lower on the totem pole or lower on the depth chart. Then that allows them to um, kind of close the gap,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of expedite their development to push for that number one spot or push for the first team
Yeah.
practice environment. So, um, like you said, it's very limited in what you can do. So you have to get creative sometimes, right? So maybe using rebounders or using boards where you're creating 1-2 situations, combinations, and um, it's just very technically based,
Yeah.
where you're working on maybe catching or working on services or long ball distribution. That's a perfect time for that. But really, the players should be practicing on their own,
Yeah.
right? So maybe if they're working on servicing or getting better at that, go to the gym or go to a wall where you can hit it off and
Oh, the wall is a
right.
great. Yeah.
That's the best thing, and,
Uh,
and you're working on different coaching points, right? You're just working on handling,
yeah.
set position, body shape.
Or just find some friends and go and
Yeah,
play in the
exactly.
street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Play and or just have someone, or some players shoot on you,
Yeah.
right? So I think the more that players do on their own or in small groups with friends, that allows them to get better.
Yeah. Okay,
So
that's
they
great.
they should never wait on the coach
Yeah.
to want to get better.
Okay, that's amazing because my next follow-up question was like, okay, does we have a goalkeeper? You have it face to face. What will you tell him in order to improve? So, okay, I will assume number one, trying to find moments where they're training by themselves.
Mm,
What else will you tell them? Like, okay, you want to get better, you want to be a professional goalkeeper,
yeah,
you want to make it to Division One.
yeah,
You need to be mindful about this
yeah.
stuff. What will those things?
I think the more that they show you they want it,
Mm-hmm.
I think the more willing that I say I would help them. Um, I learned probably halfway through coaching youth that you can't want it more than the goalkeeper, or
Yeah,
you
hundred
can't
percent.
want it more than the player, because really you're burning yourself out and you're wasting your time because they don't want it. So the goalkeepers that really go above and beyond and really show that, hey, I'm doing stuff on my own, or hey, coach, do you have time? You have 30 minutes, you know, today or tomorrow to work with me, you know, then that shows me that they're motivated, and yeah, of course I want to help you out,
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna go seek out, hey, we need to train
yeah, like
now,
push or extra or
yeah, or
something.
hey, I think if you did 30 minutes, that'd be good for you. We just don't have time in the day, right? We're doing admin stuff, we're doing different tasks to help with travel or whatever. So I think having structure, and having the goalkeepers be a part of the weekly plan, the periodization. Um, I think if we all can collaborate, that helps us all. So yeah, I think them showing the effort of, hey, I want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, I'll do everything in my power to make time
Yeah,
to help you.
cool. You mentioned periodization. That's something I would love to ask you. But before we go that, because you also mentioned like a lot of things about the mentality of a goalkeeper. How can a goalkeeper be more confident? That would be a really
Yeah. I think just self belief. Um, anybody in college that's playing, there's a reason for them to play at that level, and I think positive self talk is very important.
yeah.
You should only talk positive things or good things about you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your body feeds off your emotions. Your body feeds off of what you think. So if you're speaking negatively, you're going to do negative actions. So the more positive you talk to yourself and say, yes, I can do it, or dig deep, or I'm gonna make it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, I think that helps you forget about the mistake. Or kind of like a reset, like clap your hands, or
Do
I,
your gloves, stuff like
exactly,
that. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. I think getting over it, learning in the moment. Okay, don't take that negative step, or I need to do a better job of getting more forward, and then moving on. Um, I think that's good. So having a short-term memory
Yeah.
is very important. It's like Ted Lasso, right? Think like a goldfish,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you just want to just don't dwell on it,
Yeah.
right? So I think the more quality repetitions goalkeepers get outside of team training and goalkeeper training, that also helps them. But just doing video analysis or watching your film,
Yeah.
that also helps, because you can't do everything on the field. right? So I think the more that goalkeepers can do stuff on their own, that just shows maturity and accountability. So yeah, just that self belief
Hmm.
and that positive self talk is important.
Yeah, 100%. I think like confidence, something that also you build outside of the field, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, like that self belief, and you start gaining that self belief for the actions that
Mhm.
you do, and like stacking wins. I like that mentality.
Yeah.
Cool. A couple more of questions. This one, I'm being a little bit selfish. You can say I don't know the answer because I don't know the answer, and that's why I'm asking because I'm trying to find the answer of this.
Yeah.
So lately, I have been thinking about like, okay, I have certain activity. I'm coaching a goalkeeper, but normally I don't get to see like the end result of a goalkeeper. So, for example, if I coach a youth and I coach it for 2 years, and then I leave or whatever, and he ended up signing with the Division One. Was I the one that helped on that process? I don't know.
Yeah.
So my question it goes down like, how do we measure the activity or like our training method that is actually efficient? You
Efficient. Yeah.
know, like of course there is a way of like us judging by eyes, just like oh she's getting better or he's
Yeah.
getting better, but I don't know if you have ever thought about like, okay, can I prove it by statistics
Yeah.
in some sense?
Yeah. I think if you're developing a goalkeeper or if you maybe were the first one to work with them,
Hmm.
right? You understand where they came from, right? So having that baseline of that starting point of okay, you know, these are their measures of where they were at the beginning, and you kind of keep that in the back of your mind or you write it down.
Yeah,
So I think having a scale is important. So 1 through 5 or 1 to 10 on different areas, and just having that control at the beginning,
yeah,
so that you can keep going back to it, right? If you're working for 2 years, maybe after every season or every half year, 6 months, or even 3 months, check on the progress.
yeah.
So just progress reports.
So collecting data
Yeah,
for the whole
collecting data.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole time. Maybe after games,
yeah.
have like a post game sheet where they're writing down what they did well, what they could have done better, and then maybe ranking themselves.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah, I think the more data you have, and then also having a individual
Yeah.
development plan, right?
Okay.
So I know we talked about that in the car, and um, yeah, I think the more data that they have
Yeah.
and see, the more they're able to maybe trust you,
Yeah.
or trust that they're on the right path. So what you said about if I develop someone for 2 years, did I really develop them? Like yeah, like especially if you started with them, like you taught them everything
Yeah.
to get to that level, and you help them progress. So
Yeah.
I think maybe someone working with a goalkeeper for one session
Yeah.
or for 2 weeks, you can't say, "Hey, I
A hundred
developed this
percent. I
keeper."
made it. Yeah.
I made this keeper. So I think the longevity of that
Yeah.
really determines who can say what. But yeah, like I had a keeper I developed from age 10 in club up until age 19, and now he's playing for Boston University in Division One. So I was his main goalie coach, and I can say like, yeah, I developed that kid, and
Yeah.
I spent 9 years with
Yeah.
him,
That's a lot.
So and just to say, hey, I I knew what it took. So I think in terms of that, that helps me to evaluate goalkeepers and kind of give them projections
Yeah.
of where they could go.
Hey, by the way, guys, they are vacuuming around, so I hope the mics are really taking the voice. If not, again, it doesn't need to be perfect. The perfection is taking the action. So you mentioned something that I really kind of enjoy that you mentioned, like in some sense, you probably need to forget about the day to day. Like, okay, having a global ideology of like, okay, at the beginning you were like this and you have progressed in this over in the past
Yeah,
few weeks, besides being like, oh, today you were successful.
yeah,
And I think that's really good, something that I will keep more in mind.
hmm,
And I don't know, I think like goalkeeping, a lot of it, like as a goalkeeper coach, a lot of people have gone into the habit of not having a plan, not having an
Yeah,
organization. And I think that's part of the secret, like how to be really
yeah,
successful is having like certain plan, having certain goals
yeah,
and certain orientation that you want to go through it.
yeah,
So that's really good that you shared that with me.
yeah. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a plan.
Yeah,
I kind of kept everything up here in my head, and I think I was good enough, or I had enough experience to kind of just pull from my brain, and I could just do drills just on repetition.
yeah,
But I think the more professional you go in college, and up up in professionalism, you have to have a plan. You have to have sessions written down, uh, or at least prepare.
yeah,
So I think not having a plan, the older kids will call you out, or they'll know he's not prepared today.
yeah,
So how can I trust him if he doesn't know what he's doing? So I think the more disciplined we are in terms of being consistent with having a plan, or writing sessions down, or whatever, um, I think that keeps us accountable
yeah.
as coaches.
100%. And I think like I appreciate your vulnerability because it's not easy to say like, oh, I have gone through it. But if I'm honest with you, I think like every goalkeeper, no, every coach that has grown through his process of coaching has showed up to a practice field and be like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna figure out in the run.
yeah,
But I think that's what starts really separate you from a great goalkeeper or from a great coach to the other one.
yeah.
So that's
And
very good.
then you're always doing trial and error, right? Every day that you're growing,
Yeah,
you're doing trial and error. Some things might work, some things might not,
yeah.
and you might throw them out.
No,
And
you have fucking trainings that you show up and like you come out and
yeah,
you're like, well, I shouldn't have tried this.
yeah,
I shouldn't have
exactly.
done this.
So something I learned was there's no perfect environment,
Yeah,
right? So maybe a goalkeeper had a bad test, and they're focused on that, coming into training,
yeah,
so they're not at their optimal, or they had something go on in life, or dealing with something in life. So I think understanding the keepers
yeah,
before training is important, and that's something that Phil Wedden spoke about um, on a podcast one time a long time ago, and said that he had to really understand the goalkeepers. Say, hey, do you have any injuries, that I should know of before training, or what's going on today? Did you have a perfect day, or did something happen? So I think him adjusting that way has helped me
yeah,
in terms of being more conscious
yeah.
of the goalkeepers, and how they're coming into practice.
Yeah, that's good. And not only that, but like I feel, and I don't know what is your standpoint of view on this, but I feel I open myself to be really vulnerable with the players as
Yeah,
well. In a sense, like we're human beings as well. We are learning,
yeah,
and I think for me, Juan Sayel is okay to ask the goalkeeper, like, okay, what do you want to work on,
yeah,
or how do you feel, or what feedback do you want to me? Like at the beginning of the season, I will send like a form saying them like, okay, what did you like about last year?
yeah,
What do you like about this year? And during the meeting, during the like semesters, during the season, I kept meeting with them and then like, okay, how do you want to do the warm up? What are some things that you think we need to work on?
yeah,
And that's being vulnerable. And I think a lot of coaches have that mentality of like, oh, I'm the big god.
yeah,
But in reality, no, man. Like you're
yeah,
gonna have like really bad days. You're
yeah,
gonna have training sessions where you're like, I shouldn't have done that. I
yeah,
should have like. That's the thing. You need to adapt. You need to
yeah,
be
exactly.
adjustable and stuff like that. So, what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
those approaches?
I think having that self awareness that you have, um, is great. That
Yeah,
that you are able to say, I need to maybe improve that session, um, because there are coaches that were like, no, my session was great. It's the goalkeeper that messed
yeah.
it up, right?
And that's the other thing. Like, mate, you can show up with the perfect plan session
Yeah,
here, and then you see a first rep, and you're like, they are sore.
yeah,
They are sore. So you
yeah,
need to start adjusting,
exactly.
accommodating, or
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
well, girls, we can move on. We're just gonna play
yeah,
football tennis.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And that self reflection, right? So, um, I'm like you, where I want to be vulnerable, and be open, as much as transparent as much as possible, and
Yeah,
say, what did you think? Or hey, is there something in the week that you want to focus on?
yeah,
Because we're done playing.
Yeah.
right? They're still playing, so they need to develop and learn. And I think the more creative and open environment that we can give them,
100%.
the more able they can fail,
Yeah.
right? So and grow from that.
Yeah. And not only that, but like you will grow
Yeah,
as a coach. And I'm gonna share a story. So I remember my first year at Southern, like, and we can talk about the difference. Again, we have so many fucking topics we can talk about, but the difference between coaching female and
yeah,
male. So I was coaching my first year at Southern Military with the women's team, right?
yeah,
And I was doing this exercise where the ball was coming from behind of the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper needed to chase it. Really common
yeah,
exercise in South America, whatever.
yeah,
So the ball comes from behind, you're chasing, and then the goalkeepers come and catch, right? So this girl was like, "Okay, why are we doing this?" I was like, "Yeah, because we're doing a little bit of fitness and stuff
yeah,
like that." I don't really remember the
yeah,
recall about it, but she said, "But why? It's really hard to catch the ball like that." I'm like, "Okay, just deal with it, whatever, you know."
yeah,
But then I start reflecting, analyzing, and if I wouldn't have nowadays, I don't do that.
yeah,
Why? Because the goalkeeper will never be chasing the ball that way.
yeah,
Okay, so the vacuum is like in front, so I hope the mic. The goalkeeper will never be chasing the ball like
yeah.
that. And if she wouldn't have feel comfortable of having this conversation with me,
Hmm.
I would have never improved as a
Exactly.
goalkeeper in
Yeah,
those scenarios.
yeah,
So I think it's really good because, like you mentioned, they are learning the game. They know what's happening, so it's good. And that's something that I want to say. Like, if you're a young goalkeeper coach and you can still get in the goal a couple of times, I think it's good because it gives you understanding of the whole
yeah.
thing that you're doing.
Exactly. Or even just standing behind the goal, right?
Hmm.
And seeing their point of view. I even take it one step further, and I stand in the goal
Yeah.
while they're scrimmaging or playing or
Until you
doing
get
stuff.
hit with the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to get out of the way, but trying to see as much as they can,
Yeah.
um, and giving those coaching points on the fly. I think they appreciate that.
Yeah,
That
and
that
again, in the Asian one, I don't know if you have the accessibility, but like you start getting a little bit more of toys, right?
Yeah,
So you have like that camera that goes behind the post, and I
yeah,
think that's really
yeah,
neat that you get to see, like you said, the point of view of the goalkeeper. Because sometimes, and this happens so often, like a shot will come, and people say like, "Oh, that's such a bad goal,"
yeah.
but then you see like how the ball knuckles, and people don't
Oh yeah,
realize these little things like
yeah,
the ball knuckles is hard
yeah,
to catch or whatever,
yeah,
and they start the flight,
yeah.
how the everything.
The
If the
grass, the
goalkeeper had the
turf.
yeah
Yeah,
little details, that then you can start having a small feeling on where you are at that point of view. Now, with that being said, you brought another topic that I have been like dealing with lately. The goalkeeper coach doesn't need to be involved in the goalkeeper practice. So what do I mean with this? Let the goalkeepers do whatever. You are out the drill, watching, analyzing,
yeah,
not even coaching in the moment, but just analyzing, and then 10 minutes later you bring them in
yeah,
and tell them, all right, this is what was bad, this is what was good. You concede 20 goals with the left
yeah.
or stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think sometimes we need to step away and let them serve so that we're able to see that other point of view of maybe you're not seeing if you're serving in the training. So, um, oh, maybe I didn't notice that, you know, uh, Jenny takes a negative power step, or she starts too low when she
Yeah.
needs to start a little higher. So just trying to see different things. That's what our head coach does.
Hmm.
That's the great thing about our environment, that he allows the assistant coaches to coach in
Yeah.
season. That he can step back on the sideline or goes in the stands and watches the game,
Yeah.
and then he can analyze the game differently.
Exactly.
So I
And Rambo was a person that we met in the
yeah,
conference.
Rambo's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. She mentioned something that is really important. So, as a goalkeeper coach, the moment that you're doing this,
Yeah,
guess what's happening there, and guess what you're not looking at.
exactly.
So that's something that you brought
Yeah,
up, and I think it plays an important role because sometimes us as goalkeeper coaches,
yeah,
we want to control a lot.
yeah,
Like I feel sometimes we feel like if you're not there, the session doesn't go as
yeah,
well as
exactly,
you will desire.
exactly.
But I think you need to have that patience
Yeah,
or figure out an environment, create that
yeah,
environment where you're able to just come out
yeah,
and be like, all right,
exactly,
let me watch, mate.
exactly. So with that being said, you want to make sure your goalkeepers are technically sound, where they can strike a ball, how you strike the ball,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
You want them to recreate you so that you are able to spend less time
Yeah,
servicing and saving our bodies, right?
100%. And funny story. So yeah, I'm sorry, everybody, because Disney is bro, they're
Yeah,
going
no,
on.
listen.
Funny story. I was coaching with an academy, right? And I started the drill, whatever. And I have been working with these kids for a while. They know the way I work, the way I like the standards. They're really respectful kids, great kids. We're practicing on a field that had like fence,
Uh-huh.
so a ball ended up going there, and I went for the ball. Like I got out of the training,
Yeah, yeah.
but I felt so proud because the moment that I went over the fence, I was listening. I wasn't watching. I was listening. The ball being struck. The goalkeeper asking for the ball. The other guy cheering. Right side.
That's
Play
awesome.
right. Play thing. I wasn't there,
Yeah,
and the whole drill was going in the same
that's
intensity.
amazing.
And I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that was a
yeah,
moment for me that I was like, wow, that's amazing. I really
and that
like that.
shows how much hard work and dedication you put into the trainings
Yeah,
for them to get to that point where you're not in the session, right? So I think the more that we can do that,
yeah.
the more that they gives them confidence,
Uh,
and the less that they depend
yeah.
on the coach.
And to that's like a moral thing that I have,
Yeah,
and of course it's easier to say, but people love to come back to the office and say this kid is trash.
yeah,
But guess what? This kid is trash, and you're the coach. Who's the trash?
yeah. The coach,
The coach.
exactly,
Figure out a way to actually make that kid
exactly.
good. You should never give, how do you say, you should never bet wrong on a
Yeah,
kid because at
exactly,
the end it's how good of a coach you are, and
exactly.
that's the other conversation that I always say. Like I
Yeah,
can, you give me a college session, guys, mate, I'm gonna have the best session. You're
yeah,
gonna see it, YouTube, Instagram,
yeah,
300 million followers.
yeah, yeah,
But bring me a 3 year old, a 5 year old, a
yeah,
7 year old, and teach them somebody that you cannot really jump to
yeah,
be a, like to be a goalkeeper. That's where
yeah.
you really
Exactly,
improve as a goalkeeper.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the earlier you put the work in,
Hmm.
the better, right? So
Yeah.
just with youth servicing, not a lot of 10 to 14-year-olds can serve. Even 15, 16, 17-year-olds
Yeah.
are having a hard time to serve now. So, and that's on the coach,
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. Some other things, of course, like I mentioned, there is so many topics that we can just talk about.
We
But
got time.
yeah, we do have time. I'm gonna
We
lie, we
got
do
all
have
night.
time. But
We
that's
got all night.
fine. Males and females
Yeah.
differences.
Um, just just different. So males, I think need more, I guess, high quality demand in terms of they need faster shots, or the services need to be on point every time. I think so. In that aspect, they're more demanding. Women, they focus on different things sometimes, right? So maybe it depends on the person, but they may need more attention, right? Or they need more positive reinforcement.
Hmm.
But even males too. So it just depends on the individual. But um, I'd say the women are more receptive, more
Yeah,
open
100%.
to constructive criticism, because they actually want to learn more, right? As males, I think we all have egos, and we don't want to be wrong, right? Or we don't want to be embarrassed
Hmm.
if we let a goal in or whatever. So women are okay. How can I learn from it, or how can I get better from this situation?
Yeah,
So I I like coaching the women's game in that aspect
yeah,
of they're more receptive. Um, I think for me, as a male not playing in college, that kind of hurts me, because I'd say the college males don't really respect me as much if I
yeah,
did play. Does that make sense? So I have to find ways to be more able to get through to them,
yeah.
or them to trust me. So that's my biggest
Challenge.
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I struggle with that TV as well in USL too.
Mhm.
So it was. I was coaching MMA, and then I went to this USL team. It was the Moist Venice, right?
Yeah.
Big club
Yeah.
here in America. The goalkeepers that came, all of them are playing professional right now.
Oh wow.
They all came from ACC schools,
Yeah, yeah.
Division One.
Okay.
And like, who in the war I am to tell these guys like, okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I didn't play the level they play, but I reflect about it, and I think it comes back to what we mentioned about the beginning of the confidence.
Yeah.
You probably didn't play, okay, that's fine, but have you done the right things to be in that position? And I believe, like us, for example, we're coming from the goalkeeper conference, like
Yeah.
in, I don't want to cost, but we're investing,
Yeah.
putting the effort, and like that should put you
Yeah.
in that type of like, well, if you don't want to listen, that's on you,
Yeah.
because at the end,
Exactly.
like I have tried my best to really perform
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And I think from the conference, Dan Abrams, the sports psychologist, and I don't know if it was Stefan today or a speaker yesterday, but they talked about putting yourself in that environment and showing confidence. So I think they also touched upon the more you're prepared, right? The
Yeah,
more you're able to have data and be able to back up what you're saying, that should be enough.
yeah, 100%. And back to the goalkeeping part, like being prepared outside the things that you do outside the field, the things that you do in the field, you're gonna bring that confidence in the field as
Yeah,
well. Again, life, field, whatever,
yeah,
it all relates a lot. Okay, we went through women's, men's. Let's cut it out. Like, okay, I will make one more final question, but I don't want to go inside all of that.
yeah,
In the future, I hope I will really enjoy if you can send me like a training session, and I will post
yeah.
it, and then you can do like a small breakdown of
Sure.
something. I think it will be really cool, and
Yeah,
I can post, and people can see like the work that you
yeah,
do,
of course.
and again, something that we learn this, well, we have thought about this already, but something that reinforced this weekend was there's not a specific great way of coaching. In
Mhm.
some sense, like you can believe that training a goalkeeper is like jumping through a rope and then doing a flip and
Mhm.
then diving and being the more acrobatic
Yeah,
person, and that's correct if you see progress, if
yeah,
you have that plan.
yeah,
I do believe in that. I think there's room for everything.
yeah,
Meanwhile, other people can say like, oh, just do all these realistic scenarios, whatever.
yeah,
But then, and I had this conversation with one of the goalkeeper coaches there. I was like, okay, you see Courtois, how does Courtois works?
yeah,
He has like tennis balls and he's making a save with
yeah,
this and then he's diving like this and
yeah,
all these like acrobatic things that you say like in a field you don't see that. But
yeah,
I mean, surely he's getting results what he's
yeah,
doing.
yeah. I think maybe in their environment it
Yeah,
works for them, their culture, or maybe for La Liga,
yeah,
um, it's more acrobatic, and just that style of play, right? Just flashy, just the Spanish way, I guess. English more physical, more
hmm,
challenging, so you harder shots, so you're not able to hold on to the ball as more. So there's more set pieces, there's more corner kicks, more rebounds. So I think you have to be mindful of the league.
accommodating
Yeah,
yourselves in the
exactly.
league.
Is the adjust to the league or conference that you're playing in if you're in college, and really understanding the teams in that
Yeah,
that league or conference.
and you mentioned something adjust into the league and the conference, but also adjust into the goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Because a goalkeeper can be 6 foot, doesn't mean that the goalkeeper 5 foot can do the same as the
yeah,
6 foot. That doesn't mean that the
yeah,
6 foot can do the same as the 5 6.
exactly.
So accommodating at that and finding what works best for
Mhm.
each goalkeeper is
Exactly.
going to be crucial. Okay, final question. Uh, three advices you will tell to a goalkeeper, and then three advices you'll tell to a goalkeeper coach.
Um, okay, so the first advice for keepers, uh, recruiting wise, maybe for recruiting, or just players in general, find the best fit for you. Find the best program that fits your style of play, fits the how you fit the head coaches, how he wants to play. Right? If you're a little shorter, like under 6 foot, but you have really great good feed and distribution, good footwork, move around the goal. Maybe you'll find a program that's more distribution based, right? Or play as a back, or build out. If you're taller, maybe there's like Stefan, right? Stefan's like six
Yeah.
four, 6'6", from Ajax. He said his coaches wanted him to just kick the ball as long as possible and be more direct. So really just understanding the head coach and his philosophies and their style of play. Um, and you want to go to a school that if you're not playing football um, because of injury, God forbid, or something, you want to be able to stay there and enjoy the campus, enjoy
Mm.
the people and the environment. So finding the best fit for you um, and understanding, the head coach.
Yeah.
Number two, I'd say be open to feedback, be open to new ideas.
Yeah. It's a goal.
Like you said, goalkeeper coaches each have a different philosophy and methodology. So no one goalkeeper coach is the same. So be open to their ideas. If you haven't seen something before, try to take it on. Right? It may help you, uh, but the more closed-minded you are, the less the keeper coach is going to help you out or want to help you out, and the less you're going to have success. So be open, be coachable. Those are some things that we look at when we recruit. We don't want keepers that have an answer for everything,
Yeah.
or think they're right all the time, and it's just not worth our time.
Yeah.
So being coachable is important. So last advice: um, keep working on areas where you need to improve. If you have a strength, work on it a
Yeah.
little, but don't. That should not be your main focus. To always work on handling or catching the ball. You're not going to catch the ball every time in the game. Just what I tell my keepers is in the game, as long as you keep it out, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Same as the same as my
Yeah,
house.
exactly. Any way you can to not let it in, that's fine. But in practice, I expect you to have standards,
Yeah.
not be perfect, because there's no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. So you want to make sure that you're creating or recreating as much of the game as
Yeah.
possible. So the goalkeeper coaches, just be open, like just like a goalkeeper. Be open to feedback from other coaches, from your director of coaching, from your head coach. When I first started, if I took feedback from my director of coaching, I walked the other way and maybe curse his name or like he doesn't know what he's talking about,
Yeah.
or so. But he's got experience. He's got more experience than me, so he has to know something, or he has to seen something, or else he wouldn't have said it. So I think for us as coaches, just be open and be willing to take on new ideas and just have the passion to learn.
Yeah.
Right. I think if we have that passion, we're gonna go far.
Yeah. And in reality, man, like you can be open minded and you can tell me, oh, you should do stuff like that, and I can be like, all right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say straight away like, oh, that doesn't work.
Exactly.
I think you need to listen sometimes and then
Exactly.
having the right understanding
Exactly.
and the right balance.
And
So that's
you
really good.
should always trust your way.
Yeah.
If it's right to you, and especially if it works,
Yeah.
and if it works, and you're keeping clean sheets, there's no reason to change it.
Yeah. And it's funny because it will happen that at the beginning you might be like skeptical from a topic,
Yeah.
and then like for example, you're telling me, oh, you should be doing that. I'm like, ah, dude, bro, no.
Yeah.
And then in 2 weeks, like, I'm like, man, you know what?
Yeah.
Dude was right, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Like you also need to be vulnerable in
Yeah.
those scenarios. I
Exactly.
think because soccer keeps
Yeah.
evolutioning, and you need evolution. And I think the more that you start understanding and I think both of us we can watch videos from us 3 years ago
Yeah.
training. We're like, just what the heck what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Or
So
why didn't I
now,
do it
yeah,
that way? Or yeah, the keeper was right.
yeah,
I did do it wrong, or I didn't do the best session.
yeah, and
Or create the best session
so yeah,
for that
good
moment.
advice.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Go for your dreams. You
Okay, I
know,
love that.
there's 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 no certain path, right? I started in youth, grassroots, worked 10, 11 years in youth, and then now I'm coaching college D1 after 14 years, so it's not after 1, 2 years I made it to D1.
Yeah,
the whole point was not to make D1. The whole point was to help develop and train as many keepers as I could, and help as many keepers as I could. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And also, my education was in family and youth services,
Yeah.
so life sciences. So I don't have children yet, so
Yeah.
I wanted to understand children at each age as they grow older. That was my main motivation for coaching, to understand how to become a father. So
Wow.
I think I think taking that perspective has helped me
Yeah.
and keep me grounded. Um, it's easy to say, yeah, I made D1. You know, I'm a D1, big D1 coach. Yeah, that's not, that has never been the motivation. I think just doing the work consistently each year has helped me to become a D1 coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's no dream that's too big. You know, you never know how life is going to go. You never know what God or the universe has in store for you. So you know, say yes more, within reason, right?
Yeah.
In college coaching, if you say yes to everything, you're going to burn yourself out,
Yeah.
right? So you have to respect yourself,
Yeah.
and
Set boundaries as well.
exactly, and that balance, and um, why not? Why not you? Why not me? Yeah, I want to coach in a Power Five, as a goalkeeper coach. Why wouldn't anybody want to? Or why not go to Europe or South American coach? Like, as long as you stick with it and get your badges and you want it, there's no reason for you not to get to
Yeah.
where you want to go. So follow your dreams.
Yeah.
That's a
Good.
big thing.
Perfect.
Um,
Awesome. Fair
last
one.
point. That's hard. Last point. Um, I'd say be as prepared as you can. Um, like we were talking earlier, the more prepared you are, the more your goalkeepers are going to trust you.
Yeah.
The more they're willing to be coachable and more willing to do the things that you ask of them.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think that's really
I
important.
agree. And I think sometimes we got into the mentality of like, oh, there's not enough education.
Yeah,
But mate, personally, you can find.
exactly. Yeah,
Like you can
yeah,
really find, and
exactly.
probably it's not like, oh, this perfect course, but
Yeah,
hey, TV, tell me what are you doing? And I was gonna say, of course, I don't want to make this Superman. So in the future, what I will really, really enjoy will be like after the season, because season
mhm.
you're gonna be really
Oh yeah,
busy.
yeah,
But after the season, I would really like to have like another meeting where we probably do like a Zoom, and then you can like share the screen and stuff like that,
of course.
and then show me like, okay, like a small prioritization of how you
Hmm.
went through the season of being like, okay, this is how my week looked like.
Hmm.
This was like my planning session, and this is how we execute,
Yeah,
and then kind of walk me through a training session. I think it will be
of course.
such a great,
Yeah,
great, great learning
I'd
process.
be happy to, and I think the more information we share, um, the more it's going to help the game and help our keepers. And um, we don't want to share secrets and all that stuff, but I think showing how we go about our business,
Mm,
I think that's a great insight
yeah.
for keepers.
Awesome. Then just to finalize, conclude, I mean, of course, I want to acknowledge you because, like you mentioned, like the journey, and for every goalkeeper, like thank you for not quitting, because all the goalkeeper coaches, I'm really sure they have gone through a lot of work,
Yeah,
where mate, underpaid,
yeah,
you are not sleeping, you're working
yeah.
like working hours,
Oh yeah,
physical exhaustion, all of that,
working
and it's
70
really
hours.
definitely it's really easy to just be like, I want to be a head coach now, or I just
Yeah,
want to be a coach.
yeah,
But the fact that you're doing it because of the
yeah.
passion, even though like okay, you didn't play college, but it's still like man, you're still into the game. So I really want to acknowledge you for all that
Thank
hard
you.
work, and definitely like I haven't spent weeks, months, knowing you or stuff like that. Like I know you from a while, but like never talked to you.
Yeah,
But you can tell like right now we're doing this. This is not the best, the most
yeah,
professional
yeah.
thing. Like a lot of things I'm going through, but like you have always, I feel like show like there's something with you that tells me like okay, I have gone through a lot of things, and now I'm really enjoying life.
Yeah.
Like things were really,
Oh yeah, it was
yeah,
bad. On a personal level, in my 20s, yeah, life got hard.
yeah,
Just your perspective of what hard is, right? But yeah, just just really didn't love life for a period, but football saved me, and coaching saved me, which was
Yeah,
great, and really happy that I'm still able to coach and give back, and um, yeah, it's just the journey has been long, but I think we all have to pay our dues. We all have to show our head coaches and other coaches that, yeah, you know, Juan has what it takes, and I'm going to give him a good recommendation because of we put in the effort and all the long hours,
yeah,
and without pay, like, we're going to get rewarded if we stick with it. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I'm really grateful for my head coach and our staff, and um, just keep working hard. Yeah,
definitely. I appreciate that.
yeah,
All right.
of course, man.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah,
We'll see you in the next one.
awesome.